Season 7, Episode 22, Bloodlines. I'm not going to lie to you, this is a wacky one. And I'm kind of surprised it's not talked about more. It's kind of a forgotten episode, but it really deserves to be right up there with Sub Rosa in terms of wackiness. I'm not saying it's more wacky than Sub Rosa, but it's kind of in the same ballpark. It's the second episode featuring Damon Bach as the villain. The first time he appeared was way back in Season 1, where he tried to kill Picard because Picard killed Bach's son years prior. So I guess he's got a bit of an axe to grind almost 7 years later because he's back. And the episode opens up with the Enterprise encountering an unmanned probe. This is the standard probe / alien escape pod / whatever the fuck ship for TNG. They've used it a couple of times. It's just painted slightly differently. And it looks kind of like a hotshot vibrator in space. And it projects a hologram of Bach. And he says that Jason Vigo is as good as dead. He says, "I'm going to kill your son, Picard, just like you killed mine." So, who the fuck is Jason Vigo? Well, the implication is that he's Picard's son. But Picard doesn't know who he is. But he has an idea, because he used to date someone named Miranda Vigo. The plot thickens. And they beam the probe on board to study it. And they discover that Miranda Vigo does indeed have a son named Jason, but there's no mention of his father. And he's about 24 years old now, which is about how long it's been since Picard last saw his mother. So it's possible that Jason Vigo could be Picard's son. But whether he is or not, they have to go save him because Bach is going to kill him. So they track him down, and he and his mother have been living on a planet called Kamor 5, and they beam Jason up without his consent. He was apparently in the middle of spelunking a cave. Ugh, what a shitty word, spelunking. And it's apparently Jason's hobby. It's a little strange how every single person in Star Trek performs a physical activity of some kind in their spare time. I mean, maybe it's just weird to me because I'm kind of a lazy fuck, but, I mean, think about it. Picard does fencing, Riker does whatever the fuck this is, Worf does Klingon yoga, Janeway and Seven play shoot the disc thing, and apparently everyone plays Parisi squares at some point, whatever the fuck that means. We never find out what that is, but it's mentioned a lot. O'Brien kayaks. I don't know where he picked up kayaking, but he's always dislocating his shoulder doing it. I guess he developed a passion for it in the hills of Ireland. And Archer over on Enterprise enjoys water polo. Yeah, water polo. I don't know. It's just weird to me that they never come across anybody that just enjoys sitting around playing video games, like me. And it's also kind of fucked up that they beam this dude up in the middle of his cave diving. I mean, he could have been doing anything down there at that moment. He could have stopped to take a shit or a piss. They could have made an absolute mess of the transporter pad. But who knows? Maybe they can isolate him and beam him up without his shit. I don't know. I'm overthinking it. Because I'm an unfocused dunderhead, I'm babbling again. They beam Jason Vigo up, like I said, and horror movie fans might recognize this actor. His name is Ken Olant. He was in Leprechaun and April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day is probably the better of those two movies. But anyway, Jason Vigo is a bit of a young rogue. He says, "Oh, I know Jason Vigo, but I'm not him." And Picard explains that he's an old friend of his mother's and that he's in danger. And he further explains that the guy trying to kill him is under the impression that Jason is Picard's son. And Jason says that his mother never told him who his father was, just that he was in Starfleet, which seems highly unlikely. I mean, unless this dude who was his father was a total monster, why wouldn't you tell your son about him? I don't know. Anyway, they can't confirm any of it because it turns out that his mother, Miranda, died years ago. So it's awfully inconvenient. But hey, the episode isn't close to being over yet, so we need to keep this little mystery going. And Picard proposes a genetic test to see what's what. And Jason asks if Bach will still want to kill him if it turns out that Picard is not his father. And Picard says, I doubt it. Just keep that in mind for later. We're going to circle back to that. And after the DNA test is complete, Dr. Crusher confirms that Picard is indeed Jason Vigo's father. Okay. So the plot thickens again. And Troy goes to see Jason, and he immediately starts getting creepy with her. She says she wants to talk to him as a counselor, but if he doesn't want to do that, she should probably just leave. So she does. And Jason smiles as though that conversation was somehow anything other than a complete disaster. I mean, there's really nothing to smile about. He made a complete fool out of himself. And I think this is the only scene that Troy is in the whole episode. It's really weird. And Picard discovers that Jason has a criminal record, mostly petty stuff. But I guess he's being portrayed as a troubled youth, which is odd because he's clearly pushing 40 years old. But I guess Picard wants to take him under his wing. So he goes to see him in 10 forward. And it looks like all of this is starting to get to Jason because his hand starts shaking while he tries to take a drink of his Sunny D. And despite Picard's efforts, he's not really interested in getting to know him. He just wants him to stop Bach so he can go back to spelunking. Ugh. I hope he gets eaten by those fucking things from the Descent while he's down there. That's what he deserves for having spelunking as a hobby. Anyway, Bach shows up in Picard's ready room, and he's really there this time. It's not a hologram. So somehow Bach has found a way to beam on board the Enterprise undetected from an entirely unknown location. It's just madness. Where is security? Where are the shields? How is this possible? And, he continues to threaten Jason's life. And suddenly, Jason starts having a seizure of some kind. And Dr. Crusher finds out that Jason has some kind of genetic disorder. And she decides to run some more tests. And in the meantime, Data and Geordi discover that Bach has been using a subspace transporter. Data says Starfleet abandoned the technology because it was unstable, but even still, that's fucking nuts. It basically means that Bach is able to beam anywhere from anywhere. It's insane. But they seem to have found a way to track him down. They kind of gloss over that a bit, but whatever. They found him. And Picard goes to see Jason for one final heart-to-heart. And he explains to Jason that he never had a real relationship with his own father, and he regrets that he didn't do something to remedy that before he passed away. And for those who have seen Star Trek Picard Season 2, does that make sense to you? Because in that show, Picard believed his father was an abusive monster. Why would you lament not having a relationship with an abusive monster? It's almost like Star Trek Picard is bullshit. Anyway, Picard and Jason start to bond, and not 3 seconds after this, Dr. Crusher calls Picard down to sickbay, and she informs him that she has discovered that Jason is not actually his son. So, okay, another plot twist. And it's at this point that Bach beams Jason off the ship. He's finally making his move. And the crew tries to get him back, but they fail. And Bach is about to kill Jason, and he's making an awfully big show of it. He has really adopted the Dr. Evil philosophy of destroying your enemies.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you? You don't.
So, in a desperate attempt to save Jason, Picard beams over to wherever the fuck Bach is, and he stops him. And he informs Bach that he knows Jason is not his son. So what an absolutely insane plan by Bach. He tricks Picard into thinking he has a son, just so he can kill the guy who is not actually his son, hoping that A, he will never find out that Jason is not his son, and B, hoping that Picard would even care that much that he has a son that he never knew existed in the first place. I mean, it's not the same thing as Bach losing his own son. Picard doesn't even know this guy. So it would be just Spock taking away something that Picard never really had in the first place. And how the fuck did Spock even know about Jason? Did he scour the galaxy looking for women that fucked Jean-Luc Picard, hoping to find one that had a son not long after the said fucking? And also, he would need her to be dead and not have told her son anything about his father. So there would be no way to disprove that Picard is not actually his dad. But what a fucking plan. So many boxes need to be ticked in order for this to work. I don't know how many women Picard has banged, but I think even if this was James T. Kirk, you would not be able to find someone that meets all of this criteria. And it obviously turns out that Picard was wrong. Spock didn't care that Jason wasn't Picard's son. He did indeed still want to kill him. That was the whole point. Oh, it's just madness. Absolute madness. So the episode is wrapping up, and Jason is going back to K-More 5, never to be seen again. I don't know. I wonder if this episode wouldn't have been better if Jason just ended up actually being Picard's son. I mean, he always wanted a family. This is season 7. The show is coming to a close. Why not just give him a son? And maybe it's too similar to Jim Kirk and David Marcus. I don't know. And maybe we don't want any long-term links to an episode that is this contrived. But on the other hand, it would make Spock's plan a little bit more believable if he was actually his son. Wouldn't it? I mean, doesn't that make more sense? I don't know. I just feel like they had a chance to do something with Picard's character arc towards the end of the series, and they just pulled the rug out from underneath them. I don't know. Just an ill-advised episode. Kind of a mess. And just bringing back a villain that never really worked in the first place is kind of a backwards plan to begin with. The Ferengi in general do not make good villains. They just don't. I mean, just imagine if the plot of Wrath of Khan involved Khan trying to avenge the death of his wife by making Kirk think that he had a wife who wasn't really his wife, and Khan plans to kill this person. I mean, it's insane. It works better with Khan just trying to kill Kirk. That's much more straightforward. It's simple. It's to the point. That's what Spock should have been doing in this episode. It would have made a lot more sense. Anyway, I'm rambling again.
He just kept talking in one long, incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic so that no one had a chance to interrupt. It was really quite hypnotic.
That's all I got for now. Until next time, take it easy.